Hey there, guys. Welcome back to our show. My name is Sarah Nicole Nather, your host. And here on Fierce Feminine Finance, we like to talk about how business women can actually become financially free, even if, like me, you hit your 30th birthday with no investments, no retirement, no savings, just a business you love that you're hustling too hard in. So today on the show, I am very excited. I have a very special guest for you. Let's get him on the screen right now. Hey there, Chris. How's it
Hello,
going?
hello. It's going wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
Good. So, guys, Chris Dunlap is a seasoned investor. He has over 15 years of experience navigating financial markets. He co owns a business dedicated to promoting financial literacy, just like Fierce Feminine Finance. So, we're like besties from another mother, right? His firm, New Wall Street, specializes in educating individuals on investing strategies and leveraging emerging asset classes, such as those found in the Web3 ecosystem, for financial enrichment. And that's what we're all about, right? Financial enrichment. So thank you so much for coming
Absolutely.
on the show today.
Again, thank you for having me. Super excited to have this conversation. I follow your content. I'm a fan. So when I got the outreach, I was pretty stoked about it. So
Thank you. Well, I was just glad you said yes. So this is awesome. So share a little bit of your story. Where did you come from? You mentioned 15 years. That's a long time to be in the financial industry. So we'd love to hear more about that.
yeah, that kind of gives it away. That in the grays, but I'm a little seasoned here. So my journey into finance and investing started in college. I was in a master's program, and we just started talking about the stock market and investing. It was a finance class, similar to yourself. I almost went finance, but I just decided on general MBA. But anyway, they started talking about stock. I hadn't really heard much about investing before, right? I'm an inner city kid, didn't know much about that, didn't have that type of conversation in my circle of influence. But at that time, it was around when the auto industry was crashing and going through what they were going through. And so I remember asking the professor, I said, hey, Ford was at $11 before this happened. We're in like 80 cents now. Would this be a good time to buy a stock like that that's kind of going through this because of this catalyst? And he responded, absolutely not. The auto industry's done with. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So again, I didn't know any better. So I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything or take any action. Well, fast forward to like I think August or September of that same year, and then we get the auto bailout package that came out, and a year or so later, Ford's right back to $11. And so when I saw that, I was just like, man, I missed out on a 10x return here. And so I just made the decision at that point to never have to depend on someone else's knowledge to make decisions for me. So I just dove real deep into financial markets and stock market and investing in different asset classes, commodities, just the whole gamut to really understand as much as I could for myself. So I didn't have to rely on anyone else and miss out on an opportunity.
I love that. And I really want to unpack what you said there too, Chris, because, right, we're all about fierce feminine finance. And it's only been about a generation or two since women even couldn't do
Yeah.
their own and make their own decisions about finance, right? It really has not been that long. And I don't know about you, but I actually grew up like in a super wealthy, boringly a normal American home. But after my sister was diagnosed with cancer, I went through a time period where I had $1 a meal per day. Right. And that
Wow.
was it. And if I went over that, then I couldn't eat the next meal. So I'm
Wow.
curious, with the background you mentioned and the fact that we're obviously here to empower women, what are some of the gaps you see right now in the market we have now in terms of the difference in financial literacy between upper crust, middle America, shall I even say like white America versus women who are not financially educated and underserved communities who are totally left without financial education? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, I think the gap is just the access to the knowledge, right? We talked about that circle of influence. I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine at the level of how you were raised, right, since you're in a wealthy, affluent area, that more people are talking about those things of this is the career path that we went down to get here. These are the investments that we made, the different vehicles that we chose. We didn't have any of that. All we knew was work hard, right? My mother was a nurse until she retired, or worked a nurse until she retired. My stepdad worked at Colgate in the factory, hard work, until he retired. And so that's all I saw. Uncles and aunts were the same thing, right? They were just hardworking in that not even middle class. We're talking lower middle class, maybe even upper lower class. So we just didn't have those conversations. We just knew that you work hard and maybe you'll get a break. And so I think that was the biggest thing, was that gap of the people that were around you that were having those conversations. And so now, what I see, especially for myself, I have those conversations with my friends. We're having those conversations about investing. We're having those conversations about goals. We're sharing out information about what does this mean in the world when we hear things about the stock market or interest rates rising. Just those conversations we didn't have growing up as kids. But I'm seeing that more just across the whole spectrum. And with New Wall Street, like your niche is women and empowering women. I started this out with empowering people in communities of color, or like you said, underserved communities. But what I quickly realized is that financial literacy and financial education is across the board. Education level, gender, race, it's just not there. And I realized that it's not based on those things. It's really based on almost like classism, right? Upper
Yeah.
echelon, they know it, they don't share it. Down here, we're all scrambling trying to figure it out. That's what I learned very quickly.
100%. Well, so you mentioned before we started recording that you talk about day trading and a couple other types of trading as well. For my girls who are brand new to this and are like, day trading, is that like shopping? Like, would you mind giving us some clarification on what do these
Yeah.
terms mean and what should I look for if I'm thinking about starting to do that?
That's a great question, and I like the analogy that you use. Like, is this shopping? And it actually is, right? What day trading basically is shopping for deals on stocks during the day. Like once a stock pulls back or has a clearance sale, is what we like to call it. Like the stock market's on sale when things are dipping, we're buying those, and then I guess the analogy would be we're buying those on sale and then we're reselling them, let's say like on a Poshmark or something, because I can get a higher price for what I paid for them by reselling them. But we're doing that throughout the day. Sometimes it's pretty frequent, like a couple of those buy and sells throughout the day. But then there's also other types of day traders, people that buy something and hold it for longer term, almost like someone who would be like a fix and flipper of a house. You may buy this thing and hold on to it for 90 days before you resell it or wholesale it in real estate. Same thing with the stock market. We may buy something that's down right now, but we know that the fundamentals of the business are still strong and they just may have some catalyst that caused it to fall, like Snowflake, for instance. Abrupt departure of a CEO caused an overcorrection of this stock, but we know once they get a new CEO and they start rolling out new plans and they start talking about their quarterly budgets and finances and how they're hitting their year over year financials, we know that this stock's going to go back up. So we would do something like buy that and give it the time that it needs to recover before we sell that stock for a profit. So that's in a nutshell what day trading is, or what trading is, period. And there's different types of traders out there. I do teach day trading, but I really approach my people in the way of what works for you, because some people work full time. They don't have the time to sit in front of a computer or sit in front of charts. So we're going to look at, okay, let's just build out a long-term portfolio for you. Or we have people that are in certain fields that give them 3 days on, 4 days off. Okay, let's look at you finding trades that you can hold for a week or two and sell in the profit. And then those that have more flexibility, that's when we get down to the day trading and the people that are able to make 1 or 2 or 3 trades a day to make their profits.
That's awesome. So let's say I'm a businesswoman, right? And I spent my 20s and early 30s, maybe even all of my 30s. Now I'm 40 years old, building my business. And now I've got it to the point where I've got this nice amount of throwaway money, as I call it, right? Like your
Yeah.
fun money, your discretionary income every month. And I finally gotten to that point and I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I get this money to work for me? But
Mhm.
I do run my business still 100% time for money, hustle, right? 40 plus hours, maybe even
Yeah.
50 hours a week. I'm still in that stage. Would day trading be something that you would maybe look at for that person?
I think so. It depends on the flexibility that they have in running their business, right? If they have an established business, I'm sure they have a little more flexibility. And I say that because there's actually two people in my group that are 100% business owners. Like one's in construction, one owns a restaurant, and when they have the time that's free, that's what they do. They day trade. They take some of that money, they find some trades that work for them that they may buy on a Monday, hold until a Friday, and make their profit for the week. And that's their go spend money, right? That doesn't go back into the business or anything like that. This is my fun money. So there's that ability if there's the freedom in that role. And if not, right, we're just going to look at, let's find some companies that are strong companies that have a 20, 30, 40% return year over year that you can put that money into. It may not be day trading, but 30% return on your money a year to not do anything is still good. And so we will look at some of those typically in the tech space, the healthcare space, that will give you those type of returns if you don't have that freedom to do the day trading.
Awesome. Awesome. So then here's another question for you. I'm throwing out these scenarios because I know
I
the
love
girls who
it.
are watching this right now, they're like, what about me, Sarah? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, girls, I got you. Okay. So let's take this other scenario. Girl, she came into Fierce Feminine Finance in our world because I talk a lot about the fact that passive income can get you to financial
Mhm.
freedom faster in some cases than long-term trading. Right. And we
Yeah.
know that when we invest in cash flowing assets, that cash flow can replace our existing income. So, can you talk a little bit about for the girlie who's kind of new to that strategy? She's never invested in the stock market before. She's kind of sitting here going like, "What is a stock?" Can you
Yeah.
talk about how stocks are pieces of an actual business, and so dividends are actually profits of that business? And how do we use dividends to create passive income?
That is an awesome question. It's one that I cover a lot when I do my speaking engagements. Everybody, we had this last 2 3 years where everyone's like, hey, I want to be a boss, I want to start a business. And I tell people, like, there's capital outlay that goes into that. You have to have some type of aptitude of understanding marketing, sales, and things like that. But the quickest way to really be that boss or to be a business owner is through purchasing stock, which are shares in a company that they give out to do things like raising funds and stuff like that. But I say that because when you own, let's say, for instance, you own shares in Google or Apple or Microsoft. By owning shares, now you're part of, the shareholder of the company, which a company is actually mandated almost to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment. And by owning those shares, now you have their marketing department, you have their sales department, you have the research and development department, you have your IT department, and then you also have the board that's pushing down on this company to make sure that you're getting a return on your investments. And the ultimate goal, even with day trading, for me, and I tell everyone, like you mentioned, day trading can get you to those goals, that fire goal, a lot sooner than long-term investing. But the goal for day trading is to raise that capital fast, which are day trading, put it into these companies that are growing year over year and paying out dividends, because at the end of the day, we all just want to be on the beach somewhere living off of dividends.
100%. And I love where you went with that because you just steered right into my next question, which is so I know a lot of my girls, they're looking at day trading and they're going, I don't know if that's really for me because what I really want to do is get into like multifamily, right? Or they want to
Mhm.
do something where there's going to be a large down payment to
Yeah.
build something. Can we talk a little bit more about how day trading doesn't have to be something you do for the rest of your life? This could be some way to kind of relatively quickly build capital to then go do more long-term investments.
Absolutely. With the right strategy, the right risk tolerance, right, and risk management, you can absolutely do that. I've seen people grow day trading accounts from $100 to 10,000 in a matter of months, and then you can take that money and put it into real estate. That's what a lot of people do because real estate is still thought of as that golden ticket to wealth. And nothing against anyone that's into real estate, but the
Right.
stock market has created more millionaires than real estate over the last couple of years and has outperformed real estate, commercial and residential, multifamily, and all of that as far as appreciation is concerned for the last 30 years. So
Right.
But what happens is a lot of people, even in my group, they're still in real estate. Actually, I have an entire real estate investment group that's a part of my community, and that's what they're doing. They're
Oh,
day trading, then they're pooling those resources, and they're taking those resources to buy multifamily homes or to put that into new builds because of that down payment cash outlay. It's the quickest way to go about doing it without having to go through the paperwork process of getting loans and things from banks. So, absolutely. And then, like you said, the end goal is to either live off dividends or to live off the rental income that comes from those multifamilies.
totally. So I have to ask you, Chris, have you ever played Cash Flow, the game by Robert Kiyosaki?
I have not. I have not. I have to look into that.
You gotta
I've
check this
never
out.
played it. Yeah.
It's a game. Okay, so my dad is a business owner. He's obsessed with real estate investing and with business, and he's done
Yeah.
very well for himself. Well, when I was 16 years old, he used to make me play this game every Friday night. It was him, me,
Okay.
my stepmom, and our brothers, and it is basically an entire board game around how to use day trading to then raise capital to do real estate investments. And it is the funnest game. You have
Interesting.
to check it out.
I've never, and I'm a fan of Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, he's had some wild claims lately, but I'm a fan of his earlier books. So I definitely have to look into that cash flow. I'm definitely going to look into that game for sure.
Well, we'll link the Amazon link or something below this video. No affiliate. Just it's a great game for anybody who wants to learn the strategy Chris was just talking about. Okay, I want
And
to get a little bit more.
just like your dad, I was gonna say, just like your dad did you, that's a great opportunity and a great way to include family into learning about day trading for sure.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, so when I first moved here to Kansas City, one of my first speaking engagements locally around town was a trade school here in Kansas City, where they were very concerned because they could tell that the kids they were graduating, I say kids, these guys are like early 20s, right? But these guys, they were graduating from trade school with no financial literacy. And so
Mhm.
the very well-meaning educator was like, "Hey, I want to get some experts in here." So I came in and I had intended to do a whole workshop on investing, but these kids were not ready for that. We ended up doing a
Yeah,
whole hour-long workshop on how to create a budget. So it was like really gradient. But
yeah.
because I didn't get to actually talk about investing, I told them at the end, I was like, I'm going to come back next week. I came back and I brought the game Cash Flow. And by the end of 2 hours of playing Cash Flow with, it was about 25 students, and we had to, break them up into teams because that's too many people for
Yeah,
the game, right? After 2 hours, they were able to answer every single question I threw at them about
that's
investing,
awesome.
about real estate, the different terminology. It is a wonderful way to learn. So if you're scared to do trading and you're a little bit nervous about getting started, play the game first and then talk to Chris and he'll teach
That's
you the
awesome.
rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I need to play the game
Cool.
myself. I
So
love it.
at the beginning, Chris, we talked a little bit about Web3 and these newer asset classes that are coming
Yeah.
out. Would you tell us a little bit more about that and what the heck is Web3?
Web 3 is just the new version of the web, right? We have Web 2.0, which is our Facebook and stuff like that, where we're the ones feeding the data in and they own everything. Well, Web 3.0 is basically us taking ownership back, right? With cryptocurrencies and the blockchain and things like that and immutable ledgers. That's all that is. That's the simplest way to think about it. And when you think about Web 3, the first thing that does come to mind is like Bitcoin, NFTs, and things like that. Yeah.
So
But I
what
do
could you
teach
teach
about.
us about that in 10 minutes or less?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing to know is right. We're in this competition right now with BRICS nations. Right. They're all joining to try to go against the dollar, and everyone's doing the de-dollarization of the USD. And so what that has done, it has pushed the United States and a lot of our companies into this race of creating this CBD, which is a central bank digital coin. And by 2025, there's these ISO 2022 coins, or this platform that's going to basically replace the SWIFT banking system that we know today. And there's like 8 coins that are compliant with that today, like Ripple, Stellar, Lumen, HBAR, these different coins that are compliant with that. So what I can tell you today is that by having some stake in some of those coins, you're going to benefit from the next iteration of money that's going to be coming out in 2025 and beyond.
Very cool. So again, if we're looking at this as a long-term strategy, a woman who, she's far behind on retirement. She's like 40 or maybe even 50 and has zero retirement savings. she's not going to be able to just invest like 500
Yeah.
bucks a month until age 65. Like it's just out of the cards now because she's waited too long. How could this type of investing help her to kind of take that leap forward and then maybe get into some passive income streams to make her financially free?
Yeah, so if we're talking about Web3 specifically, I think you're going to find a lot of those that have faster acceleration as far as return on investment, right? If we think about like Bitcoin being the best performing asset class of all time from inception up over 320,000%, right? And then you have these new tokens that are still pretty low when it comes to the pricing, but once the world moves to this digital space, you're going to have these 400% returns that are going to be happening on these coins when what we call a bull run, which is just a lot of momentum to the upside in a market, a particular market. And this time around, it's going to be in that crypto space. So for those individuals that are a little later to the investment game, setting aside a little bit of money in that space, whether it's Ethereum or, like I said, Stellar Lumen or the XRPs or some of those tokens that are going to play a part in this new world, will definitely get you some of those faster returns than what you typically get from the stock market of, the 10 to 15% average that you see. And then you have like Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, saying we want to tokenize everything, which means we want to tie everything that's in the real world to the blockchain to this crypto space. Then that's where the money is going to be going to. And so we're still early in that. So those individuals that take action now and just even put a little bit aside into that space are going to fare very well in the next couple of years.
That's awesome. All right, we've talked about a couple of different strategies, a lot of the upsides of this type of trading. Let's go dark for a minute. Let's talk about how do you stay spiritually and mentally upbeat when things don't go right with trading? Because we know that, right, trading comes with inherent risks. And I'm sure that you've experienced that. You've probably seen clients go through it. How do we find the mental fortitude to start? And what do you do? What do you personally do when things don't go the way you want them to?
Yeah, I think I go into it with the understanding that everything is not going to always go the way that you want it to, even with business ownership, right? You're going to I think business ownership is even harder because one month you can have a great month and the next month you can have a month of zero, right? I've seen it happen. So I think for your audience, the good thing is that a lot of them already have that understanding of how business works, the ups and downs. And so the risk management piece is probably already there. So what I do, and when I go into trades, I go into it with that in mind. Like, what is my risk tolerance on this trade? And then what is my profit target? And I don't deviate from that. I just keep the plan simple. And the beauty about trading is that you don't even have to be like a high percent win rate trader. So if you think about a trade where you do 10 trades, right? And every trade, let's say on 5 of those trades, you lose 10%. And let's say you're doing $1,000. That means on 5 of those trades, out of 5 trades, you lost $500. But on the other 5 of those trades, if your target's 30%, that means you've made the $1,500 profit. So even if you're a 50-50 trader, you're still profitable $500, right? So that's the beauty of trading, is that you don't even have to be great. Your risk tolerance just has to be tighter than your win percentage. So you want to look at like a 3-to-1, a 4-to-1 when you're doing your leveraging of your going into your trading. Now, when it goes against you or when it goes against me, honestly, I guess I understand that. And I know that I don't have to be perfect, so I don't try to be. I know that the market doesn't have to follow any rules. I have to follow rules. And as long as I do what I'm doing, I'm going to be okay in this.
Very cool. I like that. Are there any books, tools, resources that you recommend for, again, the woman who's a little bit nervous? She feels a lot of fear and maybe she feels like she's got some limiting beliefs holding her back from doing this. What are some resources that you've used or that you recommend for her?
Well, of course, the first resource that I would recommend is my book. I do have an ebook on investing, and there's a link that we can share here. You go to nwallstreet.com. Our ebook is free. You can just download it. It's about 100 pages. It starts from the bare foundation of what is the stock market, how does the stock market work, and it walks you all the way through gradually about getting into trading and what that means. So that would be the first thing, because I poured in a lot of the knowledge that I've learned and a lot of the mistakes that I've made to put into the book so people won't make those same mistakes. And it's a free resource. Other than that, there's another one, The Simple Path to Wealth is another great book. Trading in the Zone for a trader, that helped me so much to get the mindset of trading. And it really just goes into what I said, like, just stick to your rules and you'll be okay. We don't try to predict the market. We don't try to tame the market, because we know the market's going to be what it's going to be. So that's just a great book of really getting your mind wrapped around the fact that as long as you do the right things, everything else will fall into place. So I would say those three things, those three resources are really good ones to start with. And then, as a business owner, I tell the people that are business owners that you already have such a competitive advantage when it comes to trading, because you understand what to look for when it comes to fundamentals of a business and understanding what's a good company, and what numbers to look for, right? What market sentiment to look for in a business, because you go through it every single day. So I feel like business owners really have this advantage when it comes to trading that a lot of people that don't have that experience in that world don't have.
That is such a good point. I mean, if you can keep a business profitable long term, especially some of these family owned businesses that have been, you know, doing the same thing, like a plumber who's just been consistently keeping a plumbing business profitable for 30 plus years, that takes
Absolutely.
enormous skill and talent. And if you can do that, you can probably trade,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And you can weather the emotional storm of a business up and down, the market has nothing on you. So that's the biggest thing, is the emotional and mental fortitude. So by having that, you're already 10 steps ahead of most people that come into this.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on with us today. I have a question for you. What is stick talk?
So Stick Talk, that's my group where we actually teach about the trading. That's my day trading group. It's a Discord community. The link here below is how you can access that. We do 7-day free trial. And really within that 7 days is really for you to get in there, ask the questions, get through the material, and start to hone that skill. And I know you're not supposed to like guarantee anything, but we have a pretty high track record of people making some profit within that 7 days, to where when they move to the monthly subscription, they're not worried about that because they see the value of what they get out of it. And we named it Stick Talk just based off of, when you look at charts, the red and green candles, they're called Japanese candlesticks. So we call it Stick Talk because it's really understanding the language of those candlesticks and the movement and the pattern and reading between the lines on what it's telling us when it comes to making trades.
That is awesome. So, if I'm like ready to get started, I want to learn trading right now. Is TikTok the first place you think I should start after I've read your book, of
Absolutely.
course?
After you read the book, I would say come on into Stick Talk, because you should have at least a foundational understanding of how things work. And then Stick Talk is just where we do the fine tuning. There's a community of, I think we're up to like 250 plus now of individuals that are in there that are in the same boat, right? That were new. So they're encouraging you, saying, hey, I understand. We can answer this question for you. I've had this same challenge before. This is what I've learned. This is what helped me. So it's not just coming from me. It's actually real people in the community that have gone through the same challenges that new traders may face. And it's really, like I said, it's really about the emotional of, oh, I see this going down. What do I do? And it's like, just this be okay, especially if it's long-term play or long-term portfolio. But it's just a great community of people that are encouraging others.
That is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing value with my audience. I really appreciate having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me again. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. Hope your audience got some value out of this. And any questions, I'm easily accessible. I'll send you over all my social media handles so you'll have those to share out.
Great, guys. We'll have that linked below in the show notes page. Okay. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.